Davidson from Brock's Performance. Welcome to our battle of the 125 street bikes. Little fuel injected animals that will get you if you're not paying attention. Just ask me. Watch this little clip.
Oh man.
Now, see what I mean? They'll sneak up on you. Alright, we're having enough fun. As you can see, it's hot. It's very hot here. We're in Dayton, Ohio. It's hot, it's humid. We're not going to set any records with these bikes, but I'm going to introduce you to our shootout here in a second. I got to get out of these leathers, so we'll be right back. It's hot, so I hope you don't mind that I changed. So the question, what happened to the Grom? As you saw, my first ride didn't really work out so well. So we got it wrapped. Looks cool, right? Everybody modifies their Grom. The engine and the performance aspects of the bike have not changed. We still have our alien head exhaust. We have our Chimera intake. We have our waterproof sprint filter, the P08 material. We went ahead and extended the bike, and it also has BST carbon fiber wheels and worldwide bearing ceramic wheel bearings. Other than that, internally, the engine, all stock. Which brings me to Kawasaki's new Z125 Pro. Now, as US consumers, we want everything right now. We don't want to wait. And we understand that. But behind the scenes, guys like us, Brock's Performance, and our vendors, we are working at just a crazy pace to try and get things finished. So this bike doesn't have all of the goodies that the Grom has on it. We don't have ceramic wheel bearings yet, but they are in process. David Worldwide Bearings, we got him dimensions. He's on it. They're going to be here in days. Unfortunately for a test, we don't have them installed. Obviously, we have our alien head exhaust. They're here. We're out there shipping them right now. We have our Chimera intake with the sprint filter. It's here. We went down. These bikes have the same oil in them. They have the same fuel in them. We're going to test them here, same day. The one thing that we don't have that are exactly the same, the Grom has a Dyno Jet Power Commander PC5. It doesn't exist for this bike yet. We do, our friends at Pizzazz had a fuel controller for it. The difference is the ignition part. We can control the timing on the Grom. We can't control the timing on the Z125 Pro. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but the Grom really responds to ignition timing. There's over half a horsepower difference in timing between adjusting it and not adjusting it on the Grom. Well, we assume that there's going to be that kind of difference on the Z125 Pro. We don't really know, but when you're talking about bikes that make 10 horsepower, half a horsepower is a big deal. So what we did to try and make things a little closer to even in our testing, we pulled the timing out of the Grom. We tested it with it, then we tested it without, just to make sure that things were as even as possible. Now, the carbon fiber wheels, the bearings, the ceramic bearings, we just can't do anything about that. Of course, the Grom's extended. It's got more chains, so who knows exactly what the difference is. So what we really did, we just did the best we could. We know you guys don't want to wait forever. We didn't have a completely stock Grom. No one has a stock Grom. Why would you want one of those? They're not any fun that way. We like tricking these things out. So we did the best we could, and we ran them same day, and I will show you what we got here in a second. So here we are on the SAE scale. The Z125 Pro pulled 8.62 horsepower, 6.6 foot-pounds of torque, and it's got a maximum RPM right around 9,300 RPM. After we added the exhaust and the filter and did some mapping, we got it up a little over 10 horsepower. You can see the power is very smooth. It's a very good looking curve. And what we're going to do, I'm going to bring in the Grom now, and this is the Grom without the ignition timing. Let me highlight that so you can see it a little bit better and zoom in some here. Now, the Grom made, without the timing, 10.64 horsepower. It did make a little bit more peak horsepower. Move this back over a little bit. Made a little more peak horsepower, but you'll notice that the Z125 Pro revs higher, puts up a much smoother curve. Now, as far as this peak horsepower goes, keep in mind, the Grom has a BST wheel, which shouldn't show up as horsepower, but it does typically show up as a little bit quicker acceleration, and the Grom has ceramic wheel bearings, which if you look at our other video that we did, the ceramic wheel bearings did show up as a slight power increase, and just because of the reduced friction. Of course, they didn't make power, but they didn't they didn't cause additional friction, so it did show up as an increase in power. So how much of this quote-unquote gain is as a result of components, we don't really know. You can also see that the Grom curve is very bumpy without the ignition timing. Now I'm going to pull in the curve with the ignition timing. Go ahead and highlight that so you can see it a little bit more. Zoom in here. And you can see then the Grom just barely broke 11 horsepower. It's much smoother. So the Grom definitely has an advantage how we have it tuned. Once again, we just don't have the ability to do that with the components available with the Z125 right now. So if you looked at it here, definitely the Grom would have an advantage. It appears bike to bike as it's set up. What I wanted to show you here though is, now if we look at this, even if I go to the Grom's best run versus the 125 Pro, and we go over time, the 125 Pro doesn't take as long to accelerate, which I think is interesting, especially with the components and the additional power of the Grom. So what we need to do is go out, ride these bikes, and see what happens. We're getting very scientific here, which is a lot of fun when you're talking about fun little motorcycles. But maybe we can get out and I can go for a ride on the Grom, and the owner of the Z125, our friend Kevin from Mason, Ohio, he and I can go out and do what these things are good at, which is fun. Go ride them and see what happens. So here's the data. Let's see what we can do with a little bit of riding.
All right, here we go. Looks like a good one. They are neck and neck. Squeeze that out of him by half a bike. I think I got him by about a full bike now. Try to stay in my own lane.
Well, that's why we go for rides. What the dyno said as far as horsepower goes, and what myself and our camera shy owner just experienced was a bit different. Even though the Grom showed more torque, which would make you think that I would jump out on him. Of course, I am a little bit heavier. I think we had about a 20-pound weight difference. We were neck and neck. The bikes were identical. First, second, third gear, fourth gear, I started to pull away, and up top definitely had an advantage. So the Z125 does have a different final drive ratio, so that I'm sure helped the bike accelerate a little bit quicker too, but they have different power delivery. So bottom line here is if anybody was hoping to pick up the Kawasaki so that they would have a huge advantage over the Grom, that's not going to happen. But as far as, you know, modifying the bikes, getting them to be the same, once we get the parts for these, yeah, I'm sure they're going to be basically identical. When it comes to modifying the bikes, one of the things that we do here at Brock's Performance that a lot of the other companies don't do, we take into consideration that many people don't leave their bike stock. So when we build an exhaust, like we did with the Z125 Pro, we make the head pipe diameters and the tubing as large as we can make them without hampering the OEM engine size and bolt-on performance. So you can go bigger with your pistons, bigger with your cams, bigger, and our exhausts continue to they just work better and better and better the more power that you make if you decide to modify your engine. If you want to leave them stock, this thing just ran fantastic. The owner's very happy. So bottom line is, the new Z125 Pro is neck and neck with the Grom. Good bike, and smiles all around. So until next time, I'm Brock Davidson. We'll see you then.